Welcome to Creating from the Heart, the Artistry of Living. I'm Suzy Vance, and I'm here with Jeanne Ann Cannon, a wonderful therapist.
Oh, thank you, Suzy.
Well, Jeanne Ann, you have to speak up.
Okay.
There you go. How did you ever become a therapist?
Oh my gosh.
What moved you to do that?
Yeah, great question. I think for any of us in our careers, there's a lot of things that come into play that, lead you into one direction or another. And I actually was in business after college.
In business?
Yeah.
You?
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
Yes.
In Chicago, we sold, well, there was, women in business. It was like, I went to John Carroll University in Cleveland, and they had a great business school, and women in business was like, go for it.
Yeah,
I was going to be a teacher, and I went, freshman year, they had us in the classroom. I'm like, I don't think I want to do this. Business was my new thing. And I ended up ultimately working for a division of Wausau Insurance Company. And we sold computer software to doctors' offices in the Chicago area. So when they were going from paper to pencil to online, billing. So it was a great job, and we had a great group of people, and then I had 5 states. It was great. But after a few years of doing that, we were bought out. I went with the new company, and it's kind of a life moment where you say, where do you want to be in 5 years? And It was very cutthroat business. Ultimately.
You in a cutthroat business?
Initially, it wasn't when it was with Wausau. They were very, just like an old insurance company, it was a subsidiary. They were very kind. And, we took the group up for training to Wausau. Had a great, but the new company was a little, and I thought, this does not fit me.
This doesn't fit you.
Right. So I'm at the beach in the summer, and someone said, what would you think about, you've always been good at, talking and counseling and listening. And so I went and got a master's in counseling and did school counseling while.
Did the light bulb just go off when you were having this conversation?
No, that's funny, Suzy. I think the real thing, our new company in Chicago was in a mirrored building by O'Hare Airport. And I'm like, this is, I know that sounds crazy. It was more the bigger picture of where did I want to be. And it wasn't the new climate of the new company. It was very just throw the new client the manual and sorry.
But how did you get from? You mean you had this conversation?
So I had this job, and I realized I don't know if this is a good fit. Started talking to other people, and I gift of the gab. I'm always a chatter. I meet people my whole life. I was an RA in college. I love listening to friends about their stuff. It just fascinates me. That was an internal, at a certain age, you finally say, what do I really like to do?
So what finally pushed you to fill out the application?
Oh, it didn't take much. I mean, I always thought I'd like to go on for education, and to do it in a field that you really love.
Mm-hmm.
So, I went to Indiana University in South Bend for my master's and was a school counselor while I did that. And internally, I would say we had some alcoholism in our family.
Mm-hmm.
And that had gotten worse, and I always wanted to try to figure that out, understand it better. And it was a godsend because it was actually my dad, who is a wonderful person. And he ended up getting help and recovering for like 20 some years. And you knew my dad.
Yeah.
And most people would say, oh, I don't know that your dad was an alcoholic. Like he wasn't. But yeah. So I would say those 2 reasons. Career move for me, but probably dealing with the issue.
Isn't it interesting how whatever you decide to do for work, if it's really what you want, it is also your learning curve.
Oh my!
It's amazing.
Here I've been doing, I've been in this field for over 30 years. And I ended up working for a drug and alcohol abuse treatment center because one of our students went through it. And then I worked for a psychiatric hospital. And then my husband, Pat, and I were married. We moved to Chicago. I worked with a group of therapists there. So I was fortunate enough to see a lot of counseling environments, climates, psychiatrists, theories in action. and became very confident of what I thought worked and didn't work. So when Pat and I moved back here, it was actually a friend who came to me and said, Jeanne, I need to see you. So I'm like, okay, I guess no better time now than, and that's when I started my practice.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So it was, I love it. And people will always say, how do you hear people's problems all the time and not get bogged down with that? And for me, and I suppose probably initially from my father, the glory of going to a good therapist is that you don't have to stay stuck. And no matter what you're doing. I mean, we've had marriage counseling. I've had individual counseling. We sometimes can't see the forest through the trees. So
Right.
to go to a third person, and it has to be a good therapist. I hate to say it, but there are some not good therapists, like any field.
Right.
It's got to be a good fit. So that is what drives me in the passion, and to see that we don't have to stay stuck.
Right.
Yeah. So, and it doesn't, you realize, and I've worked in some pretty challenging environments. When I worked for the hospitals, I had to be in, one of my most challenging was being in a prison, sitting in a tiny room with a guy who had molested a child. I mean, it was pretty severe and extreme. But you realize that life, we have problems, all of us.
All of us.
Some severe, some not as severe. But so it doesn't frighten me or scare me or, oh gosh, why does that person have a problem? Well, gee, let's go back and look at what.
Well, all you have to do is look at the world today,
Right,
and you
right.
understand in some ways it just is, it's an opportunity to heal our problems.
Right. Exactly, Suzy. Exactly. That's a great way to look at it.
Mhm.
And not in a negative way.
No.
Like half of what I do with clients is, try not to judge yourself. I just had a guy yesterday where, if someone criticizes him, he thinks he's wrong.
Oh,
And that's such a heavy weight.
that is.
But if you grew up in a family where
That was
it was black and white, right and wrong, so, you mean I can look at it, I'll look at it in a different way? That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And you could just be yourself.
Yeah. But we're not taught that in our world, right?
No. This is a lot. I mean, coaching is not therapy. I get it.
Right.
But I spend a lot of
similar.
time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
This is great. So, are you accepting new clients? And if you are, how do we find you?
Oh, thank you for asking that. Yes, I am accepting new clients. And they can go to my website, which is JeanneAnnCannon.com, which is
Okay.
kind of a long name, and it's Jeanne, Jeanne, Ann, A-N-N, and then Cannon, CANNON.com. And they can go to the website, or you can call me, which is 219-878-0322, or text.
Great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, and if they can't find me, they can always call you, Suzy.
They can, and I'll send them right over.
Right. And, that's a great question about, yes, I have availability, but you and I talked prior to doing this today, is it has to be a good fit.
Yes.
I may not be a good fit for some people, but I'm happy to talk to them. It's a free initial consult. As far as what are you looking for? What are your issues? I actually deal mostly with adults. I don't do children.
Mm-hmm.
Having been a school counselor, children are very unique, and helping them needs unique skills. And I focus on adults, and mostly women, a lot of relationships. I do a lot of couples counseling, straight, gay, everything in between. So, when people call, I always say, try to educate them about what counseling and coaching. I actually took a life coach course 2 years ago, and we can talk about what coaching and counseling and therapy is, how they're different, but it depends on what the person needs.
Right.
And do they for sure want in person, or do they want Zoom, which for some is is a more pleasing thing, if you would, and less threatening. So if I'm not a good fit, I would be happy to talk about what else is in the community.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, because you don't want, it's time and money for someone. I mean, it's not easy to go to counseling.
No, especially if you're grappling with something.
Right, it's not real, but I mean, of course, the end result is life-changing. And, you know, I think it's important to let people know that as a client, it's a partnership. I don't tell people what to do, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's really them understanding their issue more clearly, because sometimes we think it's this, but there's so many dynamics tied in there. So understanding their issue and telling me what they want their goal to be.
Right.
So my job is to help them get to their goal, not what I think they should do.
Right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So that's exciting. And coaching is a little bit more systematic. You know, what is the issue? What are your thoughts about that? How does it make you feel? How do you want to feel about it?
Like, where would you like to work now that you're not working there anymore?
Yes, exactly, Suzy. So we can change.
Can we look forward?
Yes.
Instead of back.
Right. And we can do that. You know, we can change our thoughts, but we don't even think we can. We think we have to move in a certain way or think a certain way. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thanks for sharing. This has been terrific.
Oh my gosh, you are so welcome, Suzy. Thank you for all you. I really, Suzy, I don't know if people know how great you are in your experience and being a lawyer and then moving in the world of art and how much you bring to our community, really.
Oh, I'm grateful that you think so.
Well, you're very positive. I mean, we all go to certain meetings in the community, and you are just a shining light. And your last post, we talked about this before we got on today, was so positive about, you know, have the courage to be positive in your world.
Right.
Whether it's smiling at someone at the store or
right
in the streets. So.
Making the world a better place.
And that's not easy. And we make ourselves vulnerable, but it's a great thing.
You know, and it also is something that the things I was writing about, which is to be able to, with your eyes, say good morning to somebody.
Yeah.
We don't think about it.
Right.
It never occurs to us.
Right, because we're accustomed to.
And it's such a simple thing.
Yeah. So thank you for being that in the community.
Well, thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Creating from the heart, the artistry of living. And if you know someone who should be interviewed, please let me know. Thank you.